Hi everyone. I hope I'm live. Good evening everyone. Could someone probably just let me know if I'm audible and if my video is visible, there's no connection issue. Um, okay. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you. Thank you, Muskan. So we'll wait for people to join in. Then I think I'll start with the session in a couple of minutes. Thank you for joining. I am Shrutika Mishra. I will be speaking on today's topic, which is animal cruelty and the related laws. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes more and then we can probably start with the session. I think I'll just... Okay. We'll wait for a minute or two. Hi. Thank you for joining, guys. Welcome all the new people who are joining. Welcome to today's session. Hi Janvi. Hi. Janvi, I'll wait for your heads up to start. Sorry, I'll just... I am audible, right? Okay, we'll wait for another minute. Welcome everyone who's joining in. We'll just wait for another couple of seconds. Okay, I think I'll start with the session now. Hi everyone, I'm Shrutika Mishra. I am an IP advocate. I will be discussing in today's session animal cruelty and the related laws in India. So we all know what animal cruelty actually is, but very few people are aware of what animal protection laws are in India. Whenever we see something happening, for example, in the recent case of an animal, an elephant who was killed, that was a horrendous animal cruelty that happened, but very few people knew what action is to be taken. There were a lot of people who shared the post, a lot of people, there were petitions signed, but no one really knew, very few people knew what action is to be taken. So just as an update on that case, one of the people, the 3 suspects and one of the people have been arrested. So as for today's session, we will be dividing the session in 2 segments. In the first segment, we will cover the basic animal laws, all the protection laws, the animals that that require certain laws in their favor, the citizens who need to be aware of certain laws. So we learn all of that in the first segment. In the second segment, Mr. Himank Ahuja, an advocate himself, will be joining us, and we will analyze the present laws that we have, right? So let's begin. All the people who are currently law students or are practicing law, or the ones who want to probably join law, probably just study law, they all know how important definitions are, right? So we need to know the basic definitions. Like, for example, when it comes to animal cruelty, what do we actually mean by animal cruelty, right? So animal cruelty basically means any form of physical or mental hurt being caused to an animal, okay? And when we talk about an animal, what do we mean by that? A lot of people might think that an animal is okay, fine, dog hoga, cat hogi, but okay, does it also include an alligator? Does it also include fish? So an animal, according to the law, according to the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Act 1960, Section 2A says that any living organism or any living being other than a human is an animal. So when I say animal, I mean every organism other than a human being on this earth. It does not bifurcate between any living organism, right? Now, when we talk about an animal, we see that there are people who have dogs or cats or cows. They keep them as their pets. They own them. We call them their owners. But what exactly do we mean by an owner? So when we have a normal conversation, if today I say that, oh, so you have a dog, or you have a cow, or you're the owner of that animal, that is not it. When it comes to law, when it comes to Section 2F of the PCA Act 1960. Now, PCA is the short form for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. I'm just going to clarify that for the people who just joined in. So, an owner is not just the person who bought the animal or adopted the animal. The owner is also someone who, even for the time being, has the possession of that particular animal, right? So if you have my animal for the time being, you will, the laws for an owner will also apply on you should anything happen during the time that you have the possession of the particular animal, okay? Now, the last definition, if not a definition, just an important law that I want you all to know before we start with the basic laws for animals is Article 51 AG of the Constitution of India. That says that every citizen of India it's their fundamental duty to have compassion towards animals. It is not just my duty as an advocate or the police's duty to protect the animals. It is everyone, all of us, your neighbor, your family member, you. It's your duty to protect every animal, right? And in today's session, we'll learn how you can protect them, what are steps you can take, what are the laws that protect the animal, right? So now that we're through with the definitions, and I hope everyone is clear with it, if you have any questions, I know we've just started, but if you have any questions, please mention that in the comments. Now that we're through with the definitions, we will come to the basic laws of an animal. What basic laws every person should be aware of that protect an animal, especially in India, because we are studying Indian laws right now, right? The Act, PCA Act 1960, is an umbrella act which governs the animal laws in India. It has Section 11 and Section 12, which talks about the basic laws of animal cruelty, like whatever offenses take place and how are the animals protected. So Section 11 and Section 12 are very important for a person to have knowledge about, because they define very briefly. They define what laws are there in favor of the animals. Okay, so I'm going to go through all of them. I'm going to give you a brief of each section, each section, like 11 and 12, and we will discuss the punishment as well. Also, you need to understand that section 11 and 12 have been bifurcated into cognizable and non-cognizable offenses. So first we'll discuss the non-cognizable offenses. Okay, so section 11 of the PCA Act, the first one is physically hurting the animal, beating, riding over or torturing, employing an unfit animal, making it work for labor. What do we mean by this? If you see a car running over a dog or a cow, any street animal that you see, that is an offense. Alright? You see someone hitting an animal, kicking an animal. For example, there was a particular video on TikTok where there were these two men who wanted to gain a lot of followers, so they tied the dog's legs and they threw the dog in the water. And that's torture. You can't do that. That is illegal. That is there. Then we have employing an unfit animal, making it work for labor. This means that if there is a particular animal, for example, a donkey that you see, donkeys are used for a lot of labor, right? So if there's a donkey which is physically unfit or even mentally unfit to perform any sort of labor, you can't force the animal to do your work, to do any sort of labor. You can't do that. That is illegal. Now this is a non-cognizable offense. You must know that. The third one is causing the animal to take injurious drugs or substances. Fourth, carrying the animal on or in a vehicle which is causing harm to it. Substances. You cannot force any animal to take any sort of substance which is injurious to the animal. You cannot inject it. You cannot force the animal to feed on it. You can't do that. That is again illegal. A lot of people try to do that. That is something which was done to the elephant also in Kerala. They forced, not forced, but they made the animal have a pineapple which had crackers in it. So that again is not right, because that was injurious to the animal's health, and the animal ended up dying. So there were a couple of offenses. Then we talk about carrying the animal on or in a vehicle which is causing harm to it. You see a lot of chickens being taken in a truck, right? You see how the chickens are kept on top of each other. There are cows who are taken like that, or pigs who are taken like that. You see them, right? On the road, you see that. That is illegal. You can't do that. You cannot carry the animal in such a manner that that is causing harm to it, right? You can't do that. Then we have keeping in a small cage compared to the size of the animal, or chained animal for an unreasonable amount, or heavy chain or cord, or with a heavy chain or cord. What do we mean by this? Now this means that if you keep a particular animal in a small cage compared to the size of the animal, so that the animal is not able to move, okay, you can't do that. It's not allowed, because you're causing mental torture and maybe physical torture to the animal as well, right? If for example, a lot of people keep cages for dogs when they keep dogs, right? But you need to make sure that the cage is very well, like the dog, the animal fits into the cage very well. There should be enough movement, because you cannot put the animal in a confined area. That is illegal. You cannot also chain the animal for an unreasonable amount of time. I understand that a lot of people, they chain their particular animals for a reason, for a couple of minutes, right? That is understandable. For example, if the animal is about to run away, or for any sort of reason, for a couple of minutes though, but not for an unreasonable amount of time. You can't do that, because If you do that, then you're causing physical harm to the animal, you're causing mental harm to the animal. That is cruelty. You can't do that. Or for example, using a very heavy chain on the animal, or putting a very thick cord. You can't. That again is illegal. Now again I'm repeating that all of this is non-cognizable. We'll come to cognizable offenses as well. Neglecting the required exercise, failing to provide food, water or shelter, abandoning any animal that causes pain to it. Okay? Now the first thing, you cannot neglect an animal that requires exercise. There can be a lot of people who like for example, they might feel the animal doesn't require exercise, that okay fine, ठीक है, मोटा नहीं है. People have a lot of views on it, but you need to understand that if there is a particular animal that requires a particular amount of exercise, you need to provide that. That's very important. I'm sorry, I'm just reading the cases that not the cases, the questions that you guys are giving. That's really nice. We'll get back to the questions that you guys have towards the end of the session, right? Okay, so getting back, you cannot neglect the animal's exercise when the animal requires it. Okay, the next thing is failing to provide food, water, shelter. Obviously, if you have taken the responsibility of the caring for an animal, okay, the animal is in your possession. It is your duty that you provide the animal with the basic requirements of a living organism, which is food, water and a shelter. You cannot live without it, right? You cannot live without it. So how can an animal live without it? Because even the animal is a living being. That is illegal if you don't provide enough care. Abandon any animal that causes pain to it. You must have heard a lot of cases because of COVID-19 that people have been abandoning their animals. You cannot do that because that is again causing torture to the animal. The animal is used to your care. The animal cannot live on its own if you just leave the animal on the streets like that one fine day. A lot of people do that. You cannot do that. That is a non-cognizable offense. Then we talk about permitting the animal to go in any street while the animal is affected with contagious disease. This is self-explanatory. If your animal is unwell or there is a contagious disease, you cannot just allow the animal to go anywhere on the street like that, because there are a lot of street animals. You don't know what harm is that going to cause to the other animals. Now that is torture towards other animals through your animal, right? I hope you guys are able to understand what I'm trying to say. This is a very important section, because through your animal who has some disease which is contagious, you'll be torturing another animal who cannot take care of itself, some other street animal, for example, right? Then I think the second last non-cognizable offense is starving, thirst, overcrowding or ill treatment, something very similar that we discussed some time back. It basically says that you cannot starve an animal or not give the animal enough water or ill treat the animal, right? You cannot do that. This is or cause the animal to go through pain or make the animal suffer, right? The last non-cognizable offense is regarding entertainment, okay, which means confining any animal or inciting it to fight or bait any other. For example, you use a goat to bring in a lion for entertainment. You cannot do that because that is illegal. You trying to torture the goat. You are using the goat as bait. So again, you are confining the goat because you've tied it, first thing, and then you're making sure that the animal is used as bait so that you can call the lion or the tiger for your entertainment or because you want to record a video, for example. So you can't do that, right? Because that is again torture. Cognizable offense. Okay. The first cognizable offense is killing any animal or mutilating it. You cannot, under any circumstances or any method whatsoever, kill an animal or mutilate an animal. That is not allowed. That is a cognizable offense. Then there is section 12. I'm sorry, there is another point that I want to discuss under section 11, which is promoting or participating in shooting animals, which is again a cognizable offense. For example, again, I'm going to give you as many examples as possible so that it's easier to understand and everyone can relate to it, right? So if you're promoting an event wherein you call people that 5 people are going to come, okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to reply to this question. Which act? I'm talking about PCA Act 1960. We are currently discussing section 11 and then we'll come to section 12, right? Okay, going back to promoting or participating shooting animals. So if you are, for example, promoting certain by PCA I meant Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Acts 1960. Now again, if you're calling 5 people who are going to participate in shooting animals, you are keeping a rabbit, a mouse, a dog, a cat. So whoever shoots the highest number of animals wins. You can't have things like this. This used to happen in the past, but now it's not legal. It is illegal and it's a cognizable offense. You cannot shoot animals, you cannot promote it. Any sort of shooting is illegal, right? Then we come to section 12 of the PCA Act, which talks about puka or any other method to induce milk from any animal, including injection of oxytocin. This is a very important section. We are going to discuss this section properly in the second segment, but as of now I'm going to give a brief understanding of what it actually means. This can be seen in the dairy industries, for example. If there is any animal who provides you milk, for example cows, which is the highest number of consumers have cow milk, right? So where do you get that milk from? There is artificial insemination, there is injecting of oxytocin in the animal. You need to make sure that is not happening because it is against section 12. But the dairy industry is completely opposite to it, and not a lot of people raise queries about it, and not a lot of people are aware of it, right? The fine for section 11 is, in the case of first offense, with fine not to be less than 10 rupees, but which may extend to 50 rupees, and in the case of a second or a subsequent offense committed within 3 years of the previous offense, with the fine which shall not be less than 25 rupees, but which may extend to 100 rupees, or with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 months, or with both. Okay? So these are the basic laws which protect a particular animal, every animal, okay? And I would want to connect this to a case which is by the Bombay High Court. The name of the case is Public for Ethical Treatment of Animals versus Union of India. The citations will be given towards the end, right? So here, what do we say? What do we see when it comes to movies, right? When we watch films, we see horses being used, we see dogs being used. How is that possible? You can't just pick an animal and use it for any sort of performance or any sort of entertainment in your movie. You cannot do that. Okay, why? Because this case states that a film wishing to use an animal needs to obtain a no objection certificate from the Animal Welfare Board of India, basically stating that the provisions of the Performing Animals Rules 2001 have been met with. So this is something very important. You cannot just pick an animal and use it for any sort of performance or entertainment. You need to seek permission. And this case was specifically for movies, because a lot of movie makers, they use animals. Okay. Then we have, now that we are aware of all the basic laws of what laws protect an animal, which is Section 11 and Section 12 of the PCA Act 1960, we need to know what are the laws that the citizens have. Okay, what can a citizen do when they see an animal being mistreated, or when they see the animal being killed, or any sort of form? What role do you have to play? Now, this is something which not a lot of people are aware of. So we'll just run past it and we'll briefly understand what it is. When we say that, what can a citizen do to help an animal not being treated properly? When you see, for example, there's an animal being beaten by someone in front of you. For example, your neighbor is doing that, or your neighbor has started chaining his or her animal in the balcony for hours and hours, and doesn't open the chain at all. What do you do? What can you do? The first thing that you do is that you go to the nearest police station and you make sure that a written complaint has been filed. Now, should the offense be cognizable, the police officer can straight away go and arrest the animal, arrest the offender and confiscate the animal. However, should the offense be non-cognizable, the police officer, of course, can confiscate the animal and seek medical requirement, and can also use the animal as proof before the magistrate to avail an arrest warrant against the offender. Okay, so that is something very important. But in India, we see that a lot of people, they refrain from going to the police station, getting a complaint filed, or at times someone is not, you're not able to go through the police procedure. It's difficult. So what can you do about that? When we talk about this, when we talk about fundamental duty of a citizen, you also have the right to go and write to the Animal Welfare Board. You can write to them, complain to them, or you can go to the nearest NGO for animals, because they're aware of what is happening, right? Because it's very difficult. Like, at times the police officer might not be agreeing to take your complaint, or they might not help you with it. So the NGO might be able to help you out in filing the written complaint. Okay, there is another section that I would want to quote here, I would want to talk about, is section 503 of the Indian Penal Code. Okay, it says that any person intimidating another person and preventing him or her, who is the owner of a pet, from keeping or taking care of his or her pet, can be held liable under section 503 of the IPC. Okay, now there's a case that I would want to talk about related to this. It is State of UP versus Mustaqim and others, right? Here, what had happened? An FIR was lodged because a herd of goats by the owner was being transported in a very cruel manner. Okay, what happened? While the case was ongoing, the High Court gave possession of the animals to the offender, to the owner, right? After that, an appeal was filed where the Supreme Court said that any person who's been accounted for any sort of cruelty towards an animal cannot get the animals, cannot have possession of that particular animal or animals. that animal has to be confiscated and has to be kept under the government supervision till the time the case is resolved, right? So apart from cruelty being performed on the animal, what is the next thing that a lot of people have queries about? Like, for example, you see that an animal has been killed. What do? The first thing that you do is you get an FIR lodged with the nearest police station. It is very important. It is a cognizable offense, right? Now, when we talk about cognizable offense, the sections that draw attention are section 428 and 429 of the Indian Penal Code 1980. When you talk about 428, section 428 has the punishment which includes imprisonment up to 2 years and or fine or both. 429, section 429 says imprisonment up to 5 years or fine or both, right? We are going to understand the difference between these two sections in the second segment, okay? And again, you can always go and report to the nearest NGO for animals, or even write to the Animal Welfare Board. And of course, for all these offences, you have the right to file a PIL. You have it. Next is when you see that someone just picked your animal and ran off. You might call it kidnapping, some may call it stealing, but this will come under theft, which has been defined under the IPC section 379. So because the animal is under the possession of the owner has possession of it, anyone taking it away without permission will be accounted as theft, which is defined in the IPC. Right? Now the punishment of theft is imprisonment up to 3 years or fine, or again both. Okay? Now that we are aware of what are the basic laws that a citizen should be aware of, we should move to the next topic, which a lot of people keep asking me about, which is testing and experimenting on animals. What do we know about that? Because of course, we've heard our parents ki dissection used to happen in school, and this is how we learned. This was back in the 90s or 80s that it used to happen, but it's not allowed anymore. So what there are five acts and rules that I want to discuss right now. We will very briefly touch it, because they establish the use of animals for experiments and education, right? So the first one is again PCA Act 1960. This is again the main governing law. Now this act has given powers to the committee CPC-SEA, which is the Committee for the Control and Supervision of Experiments on Animals, right? Now to make sure this committee has been given powers to make sure that no unnecessary pain is being caused to the animal during experiments, right? The second rule is the breeding of and experiments on animals, rules 1998. Amendments came in 2001 and 2006. Okay, now these also regulate the experimenting of animals for education or any sort of testing, right? The third one is the establishment of Medical College Regulations 2013. Now again there is an amendment for it. This has banned the use of vivisection in medical education. So even medical education does not allow it. It's not allowed, it has been banned. The fourth one is the Education Regulations 2014 under the Pharmacy Council of India, which has banned the use of animals for the purpose of pharmacy education. So even for pharmacy education it has been banned. Okay. Now, the fifth one, which I personally feel is one of the most important acts, which is drugs and cosmetics rules, not acts, sorry, rules. Drug and cosmetics rules 1945. Why do I feel that this is important? Is because cosmetics after drugs, after medicines, cosmetics is something which is on your body. It is something that is being used very widely, and the cosmetic industries, the field, they have immense amount of testing on animals throughout the world. So in India, the Indian rules, rule 148C, it banned the use of animals for cosmetic testing. And then later on, being encouraged by this, clause 135B was added to the rules, which banned the import of cosmetics that have been tested on animals, right? But apart from these, it is very important to understand that there is an exception. The experimenting on animals has not been completely banned, right? There are scientists which are allowed to experiment on animals, but these scientists are the only ones who are researching on new molecular theory. Okay, so nobody can just, no school or college can just pick up such experiments, because that is illegal. But scientists can, because for new molecular theory, right now we don't have any other form by which they can probably do their testing and their experiments, and this is something which is very important. So the law allows them to do it, right? Now that we're through with the testings, there is a second last topic that I want to discuss, which is the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Now this act has come into force for the protection of wildlife animals, because see, there are street animals which you can take care of, but there are wildlife animals which cannot be taken care of because you are not in direct contact with them, right? There's only indirect methods of being able to help them out, right? So there are three very important sections in this act. The first section is section 9, which says prohibition of hunting. You cannot hunt animals at all. However, there are still exceptions to hunting. There are two sections which talk about the exception. Now the first section is section 11 of the Wildlife Protection Act. Section 11, what does it say? It says hunting of wild animals to be permitted in certain cases. See, now again, it is also not completely banned. There are exceptions. But what are the exceptions? In section 11, we see that with the permission of the Chief Wildlife Warden, if number 1, any wild animals specified in Schedule 1, 2, 3 and 4 for the has become dangerous to human life, or is so disabled or deceased that it is beyond recovery, you can hunt that animal. Okay, and the second part under section 11 is in defense of oneself or any other person. If, for example, you have gone on a safari, there's a tiger that comes and it attacks you, or it attacks your family member or your friend, and you kill the animal, you hunt the animal, for example, you shoot the animal. So that is allowed because you are doing that in defense. This is something, killing in defense is again allowed when it comes to human also. So there are multiple laws for that as well. So section 12, what does that talk about? Section 12 says that the grant of permit for special purposes is also allowed when it comes to hunting. What are those? Again, with the permission of the chief wildlife warden, and by giving the prescribed fee, you're entitled to the holder to hunt for the purposes of education. Okay, first is education, second is scientific research, third is collection of specimen, fourth is scientific management, and fifth is collection or preparation of snake venom for creation of life-saving drugs, because that is something which is used very extensively, right? Then we come to the last topic, which is performing animals, right? Now, what do we mean by performing animals? You see in a lot of animals which are being made to perform. right? You get to see that the animals are being trained and then they are performing. So, is that allowed? Under Section 22 of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Act, PCA Act 1960, it is not allowed till the time you are not registered under the provision. And here I would want to draw your attention to the case law regarding the movie makers, which we had discussed earlier, that you need to gain a no objection certificate. So till the time you do not have permission, you cannot train or make the animal perform anything per your requirements. However, regardless of anything, I would want to draw your attention to a case by the name of Nair NR and others versus Union of India and others. Here, it was said by the Kerala High Court that bears, monkeys, tigers, panthers, and lions shall not be trained or exhibited as performing animals. So you cannot by any permission or any objection certificate, you cannot have these animals to perform for you or train them, right? So, with this, I would want to conclude segment one of our session. And for the second segment, Himang Ahuja, an advocate himself, will be joining us. And I hope all of you were able to understand what we just learned. These were the basic laws of animal protection. So, please keep commenting your questions, and we will get back to them. Till then, I would just wait for Himang Ahuja to join us, and then we can continue with the second segment. Okay, I'm just adding him. Hi, Himang. Welcome.
Hi Shrutika, how are you?
Very well. How are you? And welcome to
I'm doing
the session.
I'm doing great. Thank you for the welcome. Hi everyone. I'm Himang Ahuja. I'm a practicing advocate at Elawat and Associates. I believe all of you have learned about the basic animal protection laws in India in the first segment. So now I would like to analyze the present laws and try to understand if any further amendments are possible in those.
Right. So I think we've learned a lot about the basic laws that protect the animal and how can the citizens be of help when it comes to animals and protecting them and their fundamental rights. However, when we talk about specifically when we talk about Section 11 of the PCA Act 1960, we can see that there are a few exceptions when it comes to cognizable and non-cognizable offenses. So I just wanted to have your view on it. If uh, yeah,
Yes. You already know what Section 11 constitutes of, right? But while analyzing the Section 11, it clearly states all the kind of cruelty towards animals which are done and which can be done. But what needs to be discussed is that how only maiming, killing, and shooting of an animal constitutes a cognizable offense, but the rest of the offenses in this section are non-cognizable. Also, as mentioned by a few of the people in the comments, that the fines and punishment of for these offenses is very less. I'll say negligible, as as it was mentioned earlier also that the first time offenders will bear a minimum fine of rupees 10 to 50, and second time offenders within 3 years will bear a fine of 25 rupees to 100 rupees and imprisonment up to 3 months or both, which as per my opinion is very less, and it should be increased, but it's a lot of time has passed, but it hasn't. There have been no amendments in this sphere.
right,
You might have been coming across of disturbing videos which inflict cruelty on animals
right,
just for
right.
fun.
Yes.
These people have no remorse whatsoever. I have a thought. Can these same people inflict the same kind of cruelty as they do on animals on their fellow humans. No, they will think at least 100 times to even think about doing that.
Right.
One of
Right.
one of the reasons that I think is behind that is that the laws are very strict when it comes to cruelty or killing of or taking of a human life. If you're comparing it to animals, the value of a of an animal life is negligible if one reads this act and sees the punishment and the fines that are imposed on people. It is very clear that there is no value of a
Hmm.
of an animal life.
Right.
So and also, if we look at this section 11 subclause 3E, it clearly
Of
states, I
I'm sorry,
of the
but
PC Act.
of the PCA Act, right?
Yes. I'll shortly just reiterate the entire section. It says nothing in this section will apply to the commission or omission of any act in the course of destruction or the preparation for destruction of any animal as food for mankind unless such destruction or preparation was accompanied by the infliction of unnecessary pain or suffering. As I read this, a thought crossed my mind that who will decide what constitutes unnecessary pain or necessary pain or suffering?
Right.
Destruction or preparation of an animal as food for mankind. For me, this is selective use of the law and rights for animals. Killing of an animal for the purpose of food can be considered as animal cruelty.
Right.
The defi- as we've discussed above, that the definition of animal in this act, the PCA Act, is clearly provided that it applies to all the animals. Selectively applying the law on animals is hypocrisy. Per me,
Right.
taking a life is cruel, whether it's a fellow human or a chicken or a cow or a dog or any kind of animal. Humans do not need to kill for food. Period.
Yes. 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 But then, looking at the freedom to eat what humans want, or looking at the freedom of the human beings per the constitution, you cannot stop them from eating what they want. They have the choice to be vegan, they have the choice to be vegetarian or non-vegetarian. You cannot stop them. But then again, we also see that there is a stoppage on, like, there's a ban on eating beef or cows in India, right? So they are stopping the laws is stopping humans from consuming that. So again, this is a very debatable topic because there
Yes,
are
of course, of
people,
course.
right? Because there are people who do not indulge in this for fundamental reasons or any reasons that you may call. But at the same time, there are people who consume it because that is what they wish. It is their freedom.
Right. It is indeed a very debatable topic, so I'm
Right.
not going to dive more into it.
Right.
Um,
And with this, there is also Section 12, wherein we see that Section 12 of the PCA Act, which is also very questionable because it is directly linked to the dairy industry. So, what is your take on that?
so, as you've already discussed what Section 12 is, firstly, I would like to explain to our viewers. Firstly, I'd like to tell you that what is Section 12? Section 12, the heading says penalty for practicing Fuka or Doomdev. Now, I would like to explain to everyone watching is that what Fuka or Doomdev actually mean. Fuka or Doomdev is actually any process for introducing air into or any other substance for that matter into a female organ of a milch animal with the object of drawing off extensive amount of milk from that animal, right? So the penalty which this section attracts is merely 1,000 rupees or with the imprisonment of term of two extending up to 2 years or both, which is again negligible, right?
Right.
FUCA is just one of the ways that animals in the dairy industry are treated cruelly. One more way which comes to my mind is that these animals are artificially inseminated, which one might call as rape as well, and that too on a frequent basis. The kind of
Yeah.
treatment towards animals has adverse effects on their health, both physically and mentally. Going through all of this the entire year, throughout your entire life, you know, and keeping the animal lactating for most of the year just so that we can
Consume
fulfill
the
our
milk. Yeah.
wants for milk and milk
Mm.
products is just not right. Imagine an animal overflowing on hormones while she's pregnant, after giving birth, and also while lactating. These animals are kept in such bad conditions, keeping them in overcrowded shelters, and they are not even allowed the basic right to even roam around. The
Mm.
freedom is taken away
Yes.
every day. Every day, we as consumers consume milk, use milk and milk products. Unknowingly, we are contributing to the cruelty done on these animals,
Yes.
right? And also, these big corporations which are involved in the dairy industry, right? They are
Yeah.
in it for the money and not for the well-being of these animals, right?
Yes.
Animals are to them are just like money-making commodities. That is it. The conditions in which these animals are kept are horrific. No living being deserves to live in these kind of conditions. The milching, these milching animals are, as soon as they stop producing milk, they're sent straight away to slaughterhouses because they cannot make their money anymore, and the cost of maintaining them is probably too high. So they just send them over to slaughterhouses.
Right.
In this context, I would like to cite a judgment by the Honorable Supreme Court of India from the year 2014 in the case of Animal Welfare Board of India versus A. Nagaraja and others, famously known as the Jallikattu case. Somebody mentioned about this case in the comments as well. It is a landmark judgment recognizing the dignity and honor of animals under Article 21 of the Constitution. In this case, the Supreme Court held that so far animals are concerned, life means something more than mere survival or existence or instrumental value for human beings. But to lead a life with some intrinsic worth, honor, and dignity, animals also have honor and dignity which cannot be arbitrarily deprived of. As a result of passing of this judgment, bullfights were banned all over the country. Somebody was also asking about the events of bullfighting being banned or are still going on. They have been banned after this judgment throughout the country.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in addition to Section 12, I would also like to touch Section 28 of the PC Act, which pertains to killing of animals or sacrificing animals for religious beliefs.
Right. So I think we don't have much time. We'll have to end this session and save it. We'll come back in the next session in a couple of minutes, and then we can get to section 28 onwards.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
guys, we've noted your questions, and we are ending this particular session. Give us a couple of minutes, and we'll be back in the next session.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.